Hi everyone, new journal today. For me, it's Halloween. If it's that for you, happy Halloween. If it's some other day, happy that. But people keep asking me, it's weird, the frequency of this question is unexpected. I expected it 0 times and I've gotten it a bunch. Do I aspire to have my book be translated into other languages? Is that one of my goals? My short answer is no, I'm not interested in that. I just have qualms about both structurally, right, how this is done, how we're doing the translations, and ethically, right, why we're doing it. But that's what today's journal is about. I decided to just write it out into a full page, my response to that question, so maybe I won't get it anymore. Journal 89, Thursday, October 31st, 2024, The Ethics of Book Translations. Hi everyone. The esteem we assign to book translations baffles me. Just listen to the way novelists brag about their number. My latest novel's been translated into 6 languages, one of them says. Oh, that's nothing. Mine's in 16, another boasts. Both seem to believe each additional language they conquer makes them a more important writer. And not just important, but ethical, as though sharing their genius is the noblest act there is, and not sharing it, why, that would be a nasty snub to those foreign cultures, an act of pure selfishness. It's practically racist. I don't see it that way, for a lot of reasons. Depending on the book. Let's just talk about my book and the reasons I think it wouldn't translate well. First, I spend an unconscionable amount of time orienting my words on the page. The shapes of my sentences and paragraphs matter to me. I often decide where they begin and end before populating them with words, and the spaces between those words, I manually adjust the font size to exert further control over their position. I haven't even adapted my book to electronic readers yet, because that too alters the aesthetics of the page. And I doubt any translator would be willing to spend months fussing over the visual presentation or the oral presentation. I'm just as neurotic about the sounds my sentences make when read aloud. There are rhythms that change depending on the setting and mood. The consonants are percussive, establishing a cadence with alliterative drum fills, and the melodies move in rhyme and assonance. Every novel that inspires me has music in its prose, and it would take a miracle worker to preserve that without changing the meaning. But even if they abandoned any effort to recreate the shapes and sounds of the writing, and their only goal was to produce a perfect replication of the nouns and verbs, I don't think they could, because words lack exact translations across cultures. People sometimes wonder if colors appear different to one another. Look up at the sky. Is the blue you see the same as the blue I see? Is my green different from your green? Orange, yellow, pink? Do we see them all identically? Or are there slight differences between you and me? Given the slight differences in our anatomy, it seems likely that your sky and mine do not share an identical shade. If you're a female, you might discriminate its colors better. Lapis, cobalt, and azure are not all the same thing. If you're a male, you might have better visual tracking, which is why you could tell where the hawk went. And if you're a human, you probably interpret the whole image differently based on your life experience. Likewise, there are differences in how we read and interpret words. What violence means to me has little in common with the equivalent word in Middle Mongol. And that difference is not subtle, like cerulean versus sapphire. The discrepancy is much wider. And I assume the same is true for every other word exported into any other culture. Definitions aren't as immutable as we pretend them to be. The interpretation of all vocabulary is connected to experience, and experience is not consistent in all countries. So, no translation has perfect fidelity. Accordingly, the images my work intends to convey would be unrecognizable to Kublai Khan. Which brings us to the question, are book translations ethical? Maybe. Like most things, though, wealth makes this easy. And like most easy things, we invent euphemisms to hide the iniquity. Sharing my genius is the most noble act there is. Not sharing it is practically a hate crime. Okay, but in poorer countries, the resident authors can't compete with first world budgets. And there's only so much room in the local stores. So if we plant our books on their shelves, we've introduced an invasive species that siphons nutrients from the local crop of writers. Even though our books aren't nearly as empathetic to their cultural values, it's a little ugly. Perhaps we should boast about something else. Okay, that's it. Obviously, it's a more complicated topic. This is just a one-page sort of journal entry, journal essay, where I'm presenting a side, one of my thoughts. But like, I love Victor Hugo. Oh man, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, beautiful writing, and I didn't read it in French. You know, there's a translator who did such remarkable work. I mean, among the miracle workers. There was a couple translators of that one. I did like the 1880s one. I don't remember who the translator was. The only book I think really should be in every single language. Like, yes, you can translate this to every language, is The Giving Tree. I mean, that really is sort of the nouns and verbs, and it's simply written, and you don't have to, if you know what a tree is, that's it. That's all you need to know. You can feel free to enjoy the narrative here and the implications of that narrative. My book is it's so based in language. Even just book 1, part 1 has hundreds of clues about the events to come right up until the end. And those are buried in my use of vocabulary, how I'm describing these things. And I don't think, again, the fidelity issue here, I don't think it would survive translation well. And obviously there's a much, much bigger topic that I'm not going to get into. I don't feel qualified to talk about this, but you know, when we're talking about religious texts, sort of missionaries coming and displacing local faiths, there's more at stake here, there's more at play, and I don't feel qualified to discuss it, but please feel free to do so in the comments. Just be respectful, right? We're all humans and we should all be compassionate with each other. But that's it for today. I hope your Halloween is filled with healthy magic. And if it's not Halloween, what other magic of that day might, you know, help enliven your mood and memory of it? So, okay, that's it. I'll see you next time. Bye.